Today, a new report from Politico laid out how the man they call Donald Trump's judge whisperer raked in more than $1 billion in donations and adopted a lavish lifestyle for himself through his work on Supreme Court nominations. Back with us is Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, who's been studying this case and this person for years now. This is Leonard Leo, it turns out, is getting rich himself in the process of creating the Supreme Court he wants.
Absolutely. The article is terrific. It describes the literally hundreds of millions of dollars that have flowed through the dark money operation that swirls around the court. It gets into some of the front groups in Leonard Leo's network that he hides behind and operates through. It describes how Leo and his associates have enriched themselves personally as they have helped a bunch of creepy right-wing billionaires capture the Supreme Court. And it goes even into some of the personal connections between Leo and some of the justices. The article did not mention that Leo is the agent for Justice Thomas's book. So if you were a billionaire who wanted to reward Justice Thomas for a bunch of decisions that you really liked, you now have the perfect interlocutor in the form of Leonard Leo to go buy warehousefuls of the book so that massive revenues, profits go to Justice Thomas, and he can live in similar luxury. The whole thing is just stunning and very good piece by Politico.
And these organizations, these operations that he has, these shells that pull in all of the money, they're not accountable publicly to anyone. There isn't a way for us to kind of peek in there and see what salary is he being paid, or is some corporation he owns being paid from that shell in a way that we would never know who that was?
There actually is, but it comes very slowly through IRS reports that are often very delayed. And the tools that they use are called 501c3s and 501c4s. They're two kinds of organizations that you can establish under IRS rules. And unfortunately, the IRS has basically thrown in the towel on any kind of investigation or enforcement into the mischief accomplished by these 501c3s and 501c4s. So it's an issue that really demands enforcement. We've had hearings on it in the Senate Finance Committee, but I think the Republicans did a very good job of terrorizing the previous IRS commissioner when he had the temerity to think about looking into this, threatened to impeach him, and sent his assistant, referred her to the Department of Justice as a potential criminal. So I think the IRS has learned that this is an issue that's well worth ducking. And I hope that the new IRS commissioner will be a little bit less spineless.
And when you compare it to the Democratic approach to Supreme Court justices, the budget for that endeavor is exactly zero. There is no entity out there like this on the Democratic side, is there?
No, and the number that investigators, they continue to dig and filings continue to come in. The latest number that investigators have as to how much was put into the court capture operation up until the end of the Trump administration, I think was $580 million. So this is a big deal. And then it was on top of that the $1.6 billion was given to another 501c4 pop-up created by Leonard Leo for the specific purpose of receiving the $1.6 billion. And, obviously that's a great retirement fund. It's made him and his friends very wealthy. It's a slush fund for him to do further political mischief. And it's a pretty big reward for having helped billionaires capture the Supreme Court and put it to use for themselves.
And what do the billionaires get from the Supreme Court in exchange?
The biggest thing that they get is the ability to continue to manipulate democracy from behind dark money screens. In fact, the 6-3 court with Justice Barrett on it actually created the first constitutional right to spend money anonymously to influence politics. While they took the right to determine your own health care away from half the population, the female half of the population, they added a constitutional right that helps a bunch of very anonymous billionaires secretly influence politics through these 501c3, 501c4 twin front groups.
Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, thank you very much, as always, for enlightening us on this subject. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
We'll be right back.